entertainment, current events, and Hollywood. Don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha Bean, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today we have a very special guest.
Arnaud.
Welcome. I'm excited to talk to you. I love your work. I saw the documentary, the trailer, like the clip. It's stunningly gorgeous. But I love going back to the beginning. I always say the beginning charts our trajectory in life. So tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was that like? And how did you find your way doing the amazing things that you're doing now?
We might talk a little bit about this notion of convergence. That might become the recurrent theme of this discussion, of this exchange, convergence.
I love it.
I'm reaching a venerable age now of 57 where I'm realizing that there is some kind of a convergence that happens, people, ideas, minds. But before getting there, I was born in the southwest of France. So I'm not from Paris. This is very important. I was born in the southwest of France, in the French Pyrénées, at the border with Spain. So really in the southwest complete corner of France. I had a normal upbringing. It's a beautiful part of France where we have the Atlantic Ocean and we have the Pyrenees, we have the mountains. And I did a little bit of theater, but I was at school. So I was having a normal childhood. A defining moment in my life came when I did my military service.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was just a military service. Having said that, it turned out to become a defining moment in my life. Until then, I never really understood the notion of effort. And during that year of military service, of mandatory military service, I discovered beautiful notions, beautiful ideas that I always sought, but never really could identify. This idea that I could keep on going during those long, hard walks. And I could keep on doing so because there was a guy in front of me pulling me. I'm talking here in terms of image, of course.
Yeah.
And I had the same effect on the guy behind me. So learning that actually, we were interdependent, one to another. That opened my eyes to so many things, and this notion of effort, realizing that I had to make some effort. But surprisingly, I also came to discover that I could do things that I didn't even think I was capable of.
Yeah.
So quite a defining moment. Then I'm finding myself getting to university, English, and then I am realizing then very quickly that there is an exit. There is one way out of university when you get into this, for example, English, or to become a teacher. And I have really so much respect and love for teachers around the world, but I do believe that it's the kind of job that has to have an element of a mission, I think. You need to have it in you, otherwise I'm not sure that you can become really a teacher, someone who's going to infuse a spirit that's going to empower those children, and I didn't have in me. So that led me to quite a shift in my life, because then I had the opportunity to go to the US.
Yeah.
And I found myself working in Disney in Florida
Nice.
in
Okay.
Orlando, in the French Pavilion in Epcot Center.
Love that. I'm from Florida, so I'm like, love it.
All right. Well, I knew a little bit about Kissimmee and about all the places around Orlando. What can I say? It was 1990, and I'm finding myself working Disney by really circumstances that really got together, convergence maybe,
Hmm.
and then I'm finding myself a cast member working Disney, and then realizing so many things, discovering a valuable lesson that Disney taught me. I very quickly discovered that what I would get out of the job would depend solely on what I would be willing to put into this job. That was for me the big lesson.
Yeah.
Now, I'm French, so you must have heard of the strikes. We tend to be a little bit about the enfant terrible of the
Yeah.
world. We
Yeah.
tend to be a little bit,
Yeah.
So we go on strike. Yeah. We rebel a little bit. We voice our discontent very quickly.
I love it.
Um, and I learned rigor, and I discovered that, Arnaud, this time, this one is on you. So what you're going to put into it is going to determine what you're going to get out of it.
Absolutely.
And then I'd like to take a few minutes maybe to share
Yeah, please.
something that even to this day, I think you're going to understand that there's something that happened. I mean, several things happening in Disney, and they were just beautiful. But there was this moment. So I'm a waiter in the French Pavilion in the Petit Café. So with a beret, like the whole outfit, with a beret and the accent. And on that day, so by then, so we are in 1990. There is a table, and with an old couple, American couple. By then, 1990, they must be in their early 70s, I would say. The lady starts to interact with me very quickly, and she says, so are you really French? So, I'm telling her, yeah, absolutely. I'm from the southwest of France, and have you ever been to France? And then we engage a little bit, and I'm telling her that, do you speak French? No, I don't. But I wish I did, and those things. And we crack a couple of jokes, and everything is going well. And then she's turning to her husband. And then she says, my husband has visited France. He knows France a little bit. He spent some time in France. So, of course, I'm turning to him. And I don't know why, but at that point, I'm feeling that they came here for him. I'm not in a position to explain why I have this feeling at that point.
Yeah.
But I felt that she engaged the conversation, but the sole purpose for her to engage was for her husband.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm asking him, so is that so, sir? You spent some time in France. Where have you been? And the gentleman says, well, I spent some time in Normandy. I've never been to Paris. And then he said, but I know very well the north part of Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes on by saying, I spent some time in Alsace. And at that point, I'm like, Alsace? Have you ever heard of Alsace, Meosha?
I haven't, but I've heard of, like, I've been to Paris. I love everything about the European culture, but I haven't heard of that.
Okay. No, and nobody would, honestly. It's very specific. Alsace is the part of France that is by the German border.
Okay.
And we've been at war with Germany for centuries over that territory. So then he goes, so I spent some time in Alsace. And for anyone to know about the name of this region is weird. And then he goes on saying, and I spent some time in Germany too. Mm. So at that point of the conversation, I drew some kind of a mental map of where he had been. And I tell him, sir, something is telling me that you didn't do much tourism when you were in France at that time. So he laughs. And then he tells me, no, you're right, actually. I was one of the boys. I did the landing in Normandy, and I did the whole campaign all the way to the end, all the way to Germany.
Wow.
So here I am at that moment, facing one of the boys, one of the men, thanks to whom I could speak French today, that I could travel freely to the US.
Wow.
One of the boys, thanks to whom I could have the life I was having, which was a life of everything was easy. So I felt there was something special happening at that moment, but I didn't know what. So I dealt with it the only way I knew and the only way I could. It's a men thing, so don't judge me for that.
No judgments.
I squared my shoulders, I pulled my belly in, I looked at him straight in the eyes, and then I told him, sir, for what it's worth, and as a Frenchman, I'd like to thank you for who you are and what you did.
Love that.
And I didn't even have time to finish that sentence. That after 30 years, even just remembering this, after 30 years, I'm still. So I didn't even have time to finish that sentence. That he had a tear that was going down his side of his face. That shook me to my core, because I didn't expect that. For me, he was a warrior. He was one of the boys. He was one of them.
Yeah.
And to see him cry, I was lost. But then the most beautiful thing that happened is that then his wife reached out to his hand that was on the table, and oh my God! And she started patting him like this. And then I realized at that moment that she had been to war too, after 1945.
Wow.
And I realized how many nights she must have, held him in her arms.
Yeah.
How many nights?
Yeah.
Maybe he had 2 years of war, but she had maybe 50.
Yeah.
So when people ask me, how much of an impact and what it was, to work in Disney, what it was for me, the chance to be a Frenchman and to get into the US and starting my professional life literally this way. There it is.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Wow. What like, and I'm curious of like how, I think, so have you always had a sense of adventure, or just like something more out there for like in life? Have you always had that kind of sense? Because I think that's what makes sense, that you would make something that's so amazing, this documentary that you have. And it takes a certain type of person to want to tackle that subject. And it's very interesting. How did that come along? When did that happen, and why?
There are many moments that trigger all this, and again, it's convergence. It's just a series of events that at one point line up, or get in an order that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would say, nevertheless, the soil that enabled this to happen many years later was the fact that I'm a freediver. So there is the Arnaud, there is the very corporate one.
Yeah.
And that had a good career as an exec, but deep inside, there's not the tie, there's not the suit, but there is a freediving suit, there are goggles, and there's me holding my breath. So since I've been a child, I've always wanted to be under the surface, holding my breath, holding on my own. When I was 7 years old, 6, 7, I remember I looked at my hand and I realized that there was some flappy bit between the fingers.
Yeah.
So the mind of a 7-year-old, my God, it's so precious.
It's amazing.
Because I realized, oh boy, there is the flappy bit. If I'm pulling long and hard enough, I'm gonna have webbed hands.
Yeah.
Of course, because that's how it works, right? So I remember looking at my hands and putting for hours,
Yeah.
hours, and it never worked.
Right.
So I was always a free diver. So because of that, I had the chance to free dive in many parts of the world, in many configurations, going deep, and then ultimately with a friend of mine, a brother in the UK who created a freediving club. We
Nice.
ended up doing formidable things, doing the safety of a world record for a gentleman who went down to 700 feet, diving inside caves, free diving inside caves. So you hold your breath and you go from one pocket of air
Oh,
to the
wow.
next. In between, there is nothing.
Wow.
There is a point of life, then there is nothing but yourself.
Yeah.
And another little piece of haven where you can breathe again. In between, it's you and you only. So
Wow.
I would say I've always had that, but never in a extreme kind of way, you know.
Mm.
And then circumstances happen with COVID,
Yeah.
and COVID was the trigger, and crystallized all those things. So the army, when I learned this notion of effort, Disney also in Florida,
Hmm.
this interaction with this gentleman and his wife,
Yeah.
the storytelling that was captured at that moment, the freediving, and then COVID.
COVID, right. Crazy time.
My God. So I found myself in London,
Mm.
and never before in my life had I felt so alone. Never. Confinements, lockdowns, and so on and so forth. So I'm in London, then I'm there for a job. Everything comes to an end. So I'm moving back to France. Second wave of lockdowns. Uh, I'm in uh, I'm in the southwest of France, and then and I'm going to be very very bluntly honest here.
Oh, please.
Um, I'm in such a, and thank you for creating such a moment, have such a platform that enables things to be said.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm in a dark place, to be honest, at that moment in time. It's been several months of confinement, several months of lockdowns, not talking to anyone. It's absolutely terrible. And then I'm on my balcony. I live I have an apartment in my hometown in the southwest of France, looking at the Pyrenees mountains.
Beautiful.
It's a small building, and I'm looking down from my balcony, and I remember saying to myself, "It's not high enough.
Mm.
If I make the jump, I'm going to end up breaking my back or whatever, and getting in a worse situation than I am right now.
Oh,
That's
wow.
what's going through. So I'm realizing that I haven't reached really the ultimate limit that
Yeah.
people reach when they make that jump.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
everything is so dark that I'm like, not high enough.
Mm.
And then something happens, and that's it's one of the lessons that we want to show and we want to tell the world. Out of darkness can come the light.
That's right.
And again, another moment of convergence. So I'm looking at the Pyrenees. So I'm just look down and I'm like, not high enough.
Yeah.
Looking at the Pyrenees, I'm stuck. I cannot do anything. I'm robbed of my free diving because pools are closed.
Yeah.
Access to the sea is forbidden, and so on and so forth. And then I'm looking at the mountains. And buried deep in my mind, there is something that pops out. It was this sentence, this mantra that they used to hammer in our head in the military. I was a Marine infantry, so
Oh, wow.
they used to say a few things. And that comes out, that sentence, that mantra comes out. It's an expression in French. You have it a little bit in American also. Was when you don't have the right, take the left.
Mm.
It's what you guys say by making do.
Yeah.
Make do. whatever comes your way. And I think the US Marine Corps, that could be one of their mantras, if I remember well.
Nice.
Make do. You don't have the means, you don't have the tools. Make do. Find a way.
Yeah.
It's amazing because it felt like that sentence that had been buried all those years, all those decades,
Yeah.
waited for this moment to, poof, here I am. I'm out. And now pay attention. If you don't have the right, take the left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do things the way you want, find a way.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking at the Pyrenees. Then, if you don't have the right, take the left. And then I'm realizing, hold on a minute. There are lakes up those mountains, high altitude lakes.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody has thought of forbidding me to dive those lakes. Because nobody in his right or her right mind would be stupid enough to trek up a mountain with a full load of an equipment, with a weight belt, big fins, and dive a mountain lake, because a mountain is meant to be trekked, skied, climbed, but certainly not dived, right?
Yeah. Right.
So here we go. I'm realizing this, and that was the start. So we started a series of climbs.
Yeah.
Diving inside in a high altitude lake, taking my breath, diving in it, and staying some time, resurfacing, and then instead of seeing the sea or seeing an island or whatever it is, like it would be if I was diving in the ocean or the sea, then I'm surrounded by snow peaks, by mountains. It's like, wow,
I bet it's so gorgeous. Wow.
And that really, really hit me really, really hard. And then I'm reconnecting with a long lost time friend from school. I'm connecting with a guy on Instagram who's in France, in my countryside. I'm connecting with a guy who's a videographer.
Nice.
And then we start to do all those adventures, all those treks. And I want at the start to film those, but just to create a memento, capture a moment, but really just for me. And then over time, we do several of those, and then we started to really create what was about to become later on depth nomads.
Beautiful, beautiful, amazing! Wow. It's amazing how you got there, your journey, how you got to that place to create such a beautiful piece where you were in a place of darkness that you didn't see out of that, where, like I said, came light, and then comes this beautiful thing that you created, this documentary. And it's, like I said, it's stunning. The videographer and just all the beautiful sceneries and shots that you have. I looked at it a few times, like, wow, what an adventure. Where is it? I mean, is it out yet? When can we watch this? Where would it be available to watch for people?
So now we've decided to present our documentaries adventures in festivals. So we're lining ourselves up to festivals. We kept things a little bit contained. And also because I must admit, I went through also some kind of a transformation, maybe to some extent, a better understanding for sure about what's the motive, why we are doing this.
Yeah.
For example, we did an adventure 2 years ago in Yemen, of all places. You must have heard of Yemen. It's in the news right now.
Yeah.
In the Indian Ocean, there is an island that belongs to Yemen. It's called Socotra. Socotra, how can I say that? And it's under right now the protectorate of the United Arab Emirates and also Saudi Arabia. So it's a very safe place. It's an island. Imagine for a minute, if I'm telling you Jules Verne, the writer from the 19th century, he was imagining worlds, going around the world in a inflatable balloon. He wrote a book. It was called The Mysterious Island. So there were monsters. I mean, there was wildlife. It was crazy. So
Interesting.
Socotra is the mysterious island of Jules Verne mixed with Jurassic Park.
Ooh,
That's it. That's it. I think it's the best way to describe it.
I love
It's
that.
raw. It's nature at its rawest. There's no fanciness. It is just raw. It has an endemic species of tree, the red blood dragon tree, that is nowhere to be found but in Socotra.
Wow.
That's really absolutely, it's very powerful. So we decided to do an adventure over there. We did some freediving in uncommon locations, places. And but it turned out to become more of a travel diary.
Mm, okay.
The project took its own life and evolved into a travel diary. But for me, there was something missing.
Mm,
And I needed to go through many iterations to finally understand who we are and why we're here and what we're here to tell.
yeah. Yeah.
And then it happened with Kazakhstan. So we decided to. There is a little bit of a pattern here. We want to go to places that are not necessarily very common.
Right. I love that though. That's exciting.
So next time it could be Madagascar. It could be those places that they are on the map somewhere, but you can't necessarily point them.
Point it out. Yes.
Heard of those locations like you, north, south, you don't know.
Right.
And then so I was preparing the next adventure in Kazakhstan.
Hmm.
I wanted Kazakhstan because, well, it's just majestic.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
High mountains, desert, steppe, endless steppe. Uh, it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's really brutal. The people are rough. The
Mm.
nature is rough. Summer can be 40 degrees temperature, winter is minus 40.
Ooh.
So, it is raw. It is real. Um, so I was studying Kazakhstan a little bit, spending some time on YouTube
Nice.
searching,
Nice.
and then in one of those moments when I was trying to understand where we could go, what we could do, I'm looking at a YouTube video, and there is a national combat sport called kuresi in Kazakhstan,
Nice.
and I was watching some videos, and I'm looking. So it's more based on wrestling,
Mm.
like it is in this part of the world. And I'm looking some videos very quickly, and I'm like, oh, that was a judo move right there.
Yeah.
I'm going back a little bit. Oh, yeah, that was a judo move. Oh, that's interesting. I'm keeping on watching. Oh, there is another judo move. That was also Togari, and I did some judo a long time ago, when I was a
Nice.
kid.
Very cool.
And I'm watching this, and all of a sudden, poof, that's it. It hit me. I have a very good friend of mine in my hometown, and that's when everything happened. Everything made sense. Everything, all the puzzles, the
They're put
pieces of the
together.
puzzle.
I
Get
love
it?
that.
Because I have this friend of mine in my hometown, and his name is Laurent, and he's part of the adventure in Kazakhstan. And so Laurent's story is this: he started judo when he was 4 years old. First competition at 6.
Wow.
Um, National French champion at 12, so
Whoa.
super junior. Black belt at 13 and a half.
Wow.
Usually that doesn't happen.
Right, right.
And then European Championship, World Championship, and 2008 happens, and it's Beijing. That's the Olympic Games, the Olympic Championship in China.
Wow.
So he's selected. He's part of the Olympic team, and he goes and he's competing. He's doing his first fight and loses,
Oh.
and that destroyed him.
Hmm.
that really destroyed him. So the next day he was back on the plane and back in France.
Oh,
So he got home, he takes his kimono, folds it, puts it in a cupboard, and never goes to a dojo ever again since
wow.
2000. Yeah.
Wow.
So all this passion, all that love for the sport, all that got destroyed, completely destroyed. So I know about this because he told me this story. And when he was telling me about his story, that was fun because he was always finishing with, but it's I'm okay now, Arnaud. It's behind me. That was a long time ago. And every single time he was telling me this, I was looking at him and be like,
Yeah.
no, you're not.
Right. Right.
Nah, no, you're not. And then I'm seeing that video of the Kuresi fight with judo inside. That's Kazakhstan. So I'm calling Laurent and I'm telling him, Laurent, I'm taking you with us with the depth nomads.
Love
Yeah.
that.
We're going to Kazakhstan,
Love
and I'm going to have you at one point of our stay in the steppe, surrounded by those traditional yurts,
amazing.
tents, on the grass, no tatami, no dojo, but you're going to fight a Kuresi fighter.
Wow.
But this time, you won't be alone. This time, we are with you, you are with us, and we'll be together for
That's
you for the fight.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
Now, to give you a little bit of an insight of his mindset, so he was like, okay, said, do you want to do that? And he was, oh boy, let me think. And he decided to go for it. Several weeks later, he sends me a message and he tells me that he joined a judo club just to
wow.
get back into it because
Beautiful.
he's a little bit anxious. He wants to look good, and feel good about his judo. And everything is by messenger, and he tells me that he did 10 randoris, so 10 fights in
Yeah.
the club, and he won them all. So he's like,
Wow.
memory still there after all this time. And then I asked him, how did you feel when you put the kimono? Because I remember the story about folding the kimono and putting it in the
Yeah,
cupboard.
putting it up. Yeah.
And then he says, so I said, how did you feel when you put the kimono back on? And then he responded with one word, shame.
Hmm.
So at that point, I didn't respond anything. What can I say? What can I say? Should I tell him, oh, don't worry, it's okay? Oh, you shouldn't feel. No, when a man uses a word like this, it's not good.
Mm,
And the only thing I can do is just to respect.
right.
He says he shared that with me, and I'm taking it. I'm keeping in me, and I'm nothing.
Wow. Wow.
And so that's when everything happened. And then all of a sudden, depth nomads became really the depth nomads with Kazakhstan, because what we show with what we do is we use freediving in unconventional and extreme locations, because
Right.
that's the backdrop. That was the trigger behind all those adventures. It was the COVID. I was robbed, and I had to make do. I had to find a way out, and I couldn't keep on going. I couldn't keep on thinking it's not high enough.
Yeah.
So I had to dig deep and find a way out.
Wow.
So that's the back. That set the stage, I would say. But
That's
then up front, I want to tell the story of someone
yeah.
at one point faced something terrible, and deserves maybe to reopen some old wounds,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe to be in an environment, in a place that is going to be outside the comfort zone of that person. And for that person, maybe finally to find maybe some peace.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think that's so relatable. I think a lot of people can learn something from that. And I think that, just hearing that, I'm like, wow, that is beautiful. And thank you for sharing such art, and your heart with the world, and being vulnerable and honest. I think a lot of people, when we create art, and when we put something out there, for me at least, I feel like I like to connect to people. And I think this is a special project. And thank you so much for sharing this. This is beautiful. Very beautiful.
The way I'm trying to bridge worlds together. I'm trying to bridge ideas together. I'm doing this at work.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's kind of difficult then to justify, to explain.
Yeah.
People tend to be very linear, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But what I learned is that, I have to phrase that differently. I look at freediving as a martial art,
Mm-hmm.
and art can be seen as a martial art also to some extent.
Yeah.
There is, it's a martial art in the sense that there's no way you can fight an opponent if you don't understand yourself truly.
Absolutely.
Simply.
Absolutely.
You
Yes.
can punch really hard.
Yeah.
That anybody can do, but any fool can punch really hard.
Yeah.
Doesn't go anywhere. But the only way to understand the other is to understand ourselves. It's speaking of punching. It's one also the big lessons that we're all going through within the Depth Nomads. Throughout all those moments in my life, I discovered that actually life punches harder than Mike Tyson at times.
Yeah. Yeah. Life does.
Oh God. But I also discovered that maybe we have the duty sometimes to punch back.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I love
Have you ever heard of the French Foreign Legion?
I haven't. I
No?
haven't.
It's a military corps in a part of the French army that only is composed of foreigners. So French people cannot join the French Foreign Legion.
Oh.
They can join, but then they have to pretend they are not French. So they just on the dossier that you fill, you have to pretend you're from another country. So you have Americans in the French Foreign Legion. You have Russians, Ukrainians alongside. You have Colombians, you have Mexicans, you have Japanese, you have Chinese. It's quite unbelievable.
Wow.
There is a sentence that they say when they have to do a job. And they do a job quite often because it's an elite corps. So they are being exposed really to the real stuff. And when they have to do a job, they are always going to do it sans violence ni haine, without violence, without hatred nor passion. Without hatred nor passion. When something has to be done, and something terminal eventually has to be done, it has to be done, but without hatred nor passion.
Love that.
Has to be, all those elements have to be excluded. Martial art. We need to understand who we are. We need to be able to contain the level of violence that we have within ourselves.
Yeah.
To be able to do things properly, respectfully, within a code of honor, some kind of maybe a military bushido, I guess, maybe to some extent. I don't know.
I love that. I love that.
And all this makes it such that then we have, I think we have to accept the fact that we can be vulnerable. It's okay, because that's the only way to understand where our limits are. And there's another lesson also I discovered throughout all those adventures. And this lesson is, when I mentioned about we have the duty sometimes to punch, but without hatred, no passion. There's nothing personal. There's nothing personal with life,
Yeah.
Life throws punches, and we have to be gracious about that. Take some, but sometimes, if only just to show to life that, I'm standing on my feet. And you can try your best maybe to test me, but I am here to stay. I'm not going anywhere.
I love that. I love that.
And I think, and I've discovered, as a matter of fact, that actually it's a duty. Whoever we can say the universe, we can call that God, call that life. but I've discovered, I was going to say I'm convinced, but I've discovered that life, God, the universe are so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Each deserve that we give our best. Mm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we only get one, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, what are we going to do when what we're given, the gifts that we're given, I think everything that we go through, the ups and downs, are to exactly what you're doing, to share those stories, because you know, we're all connected in a way. So it's just like what you said. It's that. And I love that. I love that. I have a question that I love asking everyone on this show, and there is no wrong answer, but the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
A part of me would say money because it allows me to do those adventures. Now,
Yeah.
having said, one of the reasons why I wanted to film those adventures at first, and it turned out that those adventures started to grow and they became expeditions,
Yeah.
and they became meaningful with a purpose, and so on and so forth. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do that was to leave something behind, some kind of a legacy. I want to be able to leave something for my daughter, for her one day. In those days, I was thinking about, those CDs, discs,
Yes. Yeah.
more, but something that she could look at in order to understand who dad was.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful.
No, because I think, we know our parents,
Sort of.
some of us, the fortunate ones.
Yeah.
But we only know. My father passed away, and I've realized. Hold on a minute. I only know a side of him that he allowed me to look at.
Yeah.
But there are so many different facets that I when he was a kid, when he was a teenager, when I don't know all this. The way he was thinking about some things, there were, I didn't know, and so there are some areas of shadows, and the way I look at things is that I want to do those things and to record them so that one day my daughter and my grandchildren who will want to know who Arnaud was, then they can see the side of Arnaud that they might not have maybe the chance to look at. So the answer to your question would be respect in the sense of leaving a legacy behind that can show actually who I truly was.
I love that. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Um, if and I'm curious, I think I'm just curious of your answer with this, but you've had so many amazing adventures and so many things that you've done and sites that you've seen. Is there a place that you want to go to that you haven't explored yet? And like, what's the next one that you're like, I must explore this place?
That place is going to depend entirely on the person we're going to take with us.
Ah, okay.
Reopen that wound, and to allow and for that person to finally maybe come to some understanding or some level of peace.
Hmm.
Uh, I have this. So in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to travel to France with a team.
Nice.
I'm going to do a little adventure in the Pyrenees.
Beautiful.
And taking with us a very good friend of mine. He's living on the west coast of France, so next to Spain. It's on the Atlantic coast. It's a place where there is a lot of surfing. There are world championships happening every year, so it's a big surf place. He started surfing. He could have been 5, 6. So he's a big surfer. He's really a heavy one,
Love that.
He's done many competitions, many French competitions. He's reached the finals many times, and he never won.
Wow.
He always finished second.
Interesting.
Always. So much so that when he's reaching the finals, now all the people from the French Surf Federation and all the judges, they see him coming and they're like, oh, okay.
Oh no.
So when he's getting to the finals, he falls from the board. He falls. He's missing the wave. He's
No.
overtaking the wave. Really rookie stuff. So he's from the day before or the morning before. He was getting to the semifinals, ripping it, getting into waves, tube after really. I mean, backslides, amazing. Really the hardcore stuff, the really intense, the intense surfing. And then he's getting to the finals, he collapses, completely collapses.
Interesting.
Disappears. So I want to take him to the Pyrenees, and we're going to make him take him to a place where this time he will have to face that and maybe to draw himself some parallels with this and to come to terms with the fact that he deserves finally to get to this number one position. And it's the second place is a place of comfort when you think about it.
Yes, I do. You're so right. It's so interesting because, gosh, I think about the things that block us, and we don't really realize it. Maybe it's in our subconscious, but there is a way to unlock it. And I love what you're doing is having him face that, but not alone, but with people that that care, that love, and hopefully something is awakened in him in that moment. And I feel like that's for anyone in the journey, right? Is if it's, we have to confront the fear or whatever that is, comfort zone, comfortability, and go for that. Like you said, find a way. It goes back to what you said at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And I
Eventually, what I saw, I would love. So that's why it's really the people.
Yeah.
Going to join us. That's going to determine the place where we will be.
Beautiful.
Eventually, I would love to bring with us a veteran, that is facing PTSD.
That'd be beautiful.
And also, I'd love to be able one day to take with us a woman who faced rape and also to remind the world it's women, men who face those things, they end up being being accused or being stigmatized by that. It's surreal.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And God knows how much I know it's a trauma that someone is going to carry through his life. And maybe there is a way to, by being surrounded, by people that care.
Yeah.
And this time, this person is not alone.
Absolutely. You're doing amazing work. Amazing work. Where can people find you on social media to follow the journey of this amazing documentary and just the message that you're carrying?
I'm quite excited to share this because we're just about to post, and that's Marina. She's the freediver and the geologist of the team. We all have a role and we have a job. It's dual. We have a job and a specialty. So she's the scientist a little bit of the team, and she's putting a few videos. She just worked on a
yay!
So we have our own website. So it's depthnomads.com.
Awesome.
And we're on Instagram, Depth Nomads, and we're on LinkedIn, Depth Nomads. We're on Facebook, Depth Nomads. Thanks to the magic touch of a formidable gentleman that is part of the team, Blade, and who's really working beautifully to take us to the next level. It's I must admit I know how to hold my breath super well. And I think I understand what makes a beautiful story, but that's it. Now we are facing a completely different realm. So yes, and that's your world, and your world is a tough one, huh?
So
Yosha?
it's an interesting it's definitely not for the weak. It's a fun,
Ooh.
exciting, wild ride for sure. It's crazy.
And I'm realizing that your industry, which is slowly, gradually is becoming mine, but it seems that you guys are the least to have any fun to some extent sometimes. There's a paradox here, isn't there? There's something weird.
Yeah,
But
it looks cool on the outside, right? The red
yeah,
carpets and the pictures, and then like
yeah.
it's 24 hours, every day, it's
There is a
never
crime.
ends.
I tested several industries professionally, but yeah, this one is really a hard one to crack. So we have Blade that is helping us because yeah, I can hold my breath beautifully. Marina can do the same. The whole team, Loic, our videographer, can
Nice.
capture. That's that's an interesting one. It's a gentleman who believes that life is not worthy, is not worth it.
Mm,
Life is dark.
wow.
There's no purpose to life. That's his mindset.
Wow.
Because of that, he's not conscious of that. So I'm glad I'm doing this in English because his English is abysmal. So he will never understand what I'm sharing with you. So it has to stay between us.
Okay.
We have millions of people out there listening to your beautiful podcast. But because of that, because of this darkness in him, he's seeking light always.
Right.
So in the way he's going to move the camera, he's always he wants to capture light.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So we are a weird bunch, and if more of the people around, people in the world, can want to join us, then because we do those adventures, but it's also our way to tell the world and to tell you, make do.
Absolutely.
It's good.
Nice.
It's not fun when it's cold. It's not fun when it's dark. It's
Yeah.
not fun when it's miserable. It's not fun when it rains. But if you can surround yourself also with people, that care, your dog, cat, whatever it is, your nanny, your granny, whatever. But the people that care, they make things so easier.
Absolutely. Hey, maybe one day I'll come join. Who knows?
Please. Yeah, I'm sure you have your own story to tell.
Oh man, thank you so much. This was so fun. I enjoyed this, just learning about your story and what you're doing, what you're working on, your team. Um, yeah, come back anytime, and congratulations on everything. And is there like you have a like a saying, like a quote, one of your favorite quotes that we can end the show with?
Um, yeah, life punches harder than Mike Tyson, so punch back.
Punch back. I love it. I love it. Thank you all for listening.
Always with a smile and always graciously.
Absolutely. I love that. It's great. I'm gonna definitely remember that one.
Next time we have another moment, we'll do it in French. All right?
Okay. Deal.
To get into your French
I gotta get better. Oui, oui.
and please share the word and share the gospel, about this French guy who, in 1990 met this this beautiful couple and this beautiful man, and who helped to make the world a better place.
Absolutely.
And thanks to whom I can be with you today, and I could run the world and speak French, and we know, and we all remember where we're coming from.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time.